Welcome back, everybody. It is Dave Plays here today, and today we are going to be talking about modded Nintendo Switch. So I kind of want to bring this video because the Switch 2 just launched, and I currently have the first one. I've had the Lite, the first one, and then I have this one, which is now modded. So in my experience, I've actually used a PS Vita before a few times. I've also used some other modded consoles, like specifically the modded Wii. I have not touched a modded Wii U yet, which I hear is very popular, but that is on my list next. But I just wanted to give my thoughts on the whole ordeal. I personally love modding in Homebrew. I think the Switch did everything I wish the Vita could, but there are some big downsides. So I thought, welcome back as one of my new first videos. Why not we go into Switch modding? So let's get it all docked up and then we'll go from there. Alright, so now that we have it on the dock, I also have a little capture card capturing everything. I just kind of wanted to go through the software and some of the benefits you get on the Switch when it is modded. As you can see, I have a lot of games now. Just keep in mind all the games I have, because it is modded, you won't be able to play any of these online, but they do all work. A good example, though, that I was recently playing would be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So you can see that my version is 3.05, so that is the newest. But when you do download, whether it's something like Tinfoil or something else, you have to make sure that you install the updates and the DLCs. Now, on the newer versions of the Nintendo Switch, that does become a problem because tinfoil actually doesn't work, and I'll actually show trying to load it up later. But tinfoil doesn't work because of how new the console is, so you actually have to backtrace a version. So it just can get a little annoying at times. But the other cool thing that I learned, if you have a friend with a legit Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that is fully updated, you can actually go here, software update, and you can match version with local users. So that way you can get it completely updated without having to do the update. So personally, I use FTP or MTP for my files. FTP is kind of one of my favorites, mainly because when I move the file, it also installs it right away. MTP, I have to leave it on the SD card, install it, and then go back through. I have tried tinfoil on this one as well, but the problem with tinfoil is the eShop catalog is just so bare, and tinfoil itself, using it as an app, is just not as good as some of the things that the Vita offered. So the whole homebrew store that it has, and the shop, and the way you can look through everything, it doesn't give you every game you want. But if you go to the physical Ghost eShop website or one of the free shops, it works great downloading it from there and then transferring it over. Another good idea, if you don't want to pay like $180 for a lifetime license for the Ghost eShop, you can pay one time $5 for a month, download all the games you want, put it on a hard drive, store it, and that way you can divvy it out to friends, etc., and not have to pay money to access a free shop. A lot of the other free shops, they go in and out anyway, so the Ghost free shop is one of the best, even though it is paid. But if we go back, you can see, like, Luigi's Mansion, I'm on 1. And if we go to, let's see, Balatro, I do have it updated. So you just have to make sure when you copy over the updates and everything like that, that it does install. A little note on FTP, when I was using it on my Mac, if I didn't do it one by one and then restart the FTP every single time, I did have issues where it just would error out. You also have to keep in mind the person who made that software originally is Russian, so it's really hard to know what you're doing unless you download the English version. So that's just something to know. But luckily with the free shop, you can get just so many cool games, which is absolutely nice. You can even overclock as well with some of the homebrew things. I've done mine in handheld mode, and I've done it in docked mode, and overall it's great. But once you have like a chip like a Picofly, you mainly can go into the album, and then here's all your homebrew stuff. So you have to keep in mind this is in applet mode, so I think it has like less RAM. But DBI is the big thing that you want. So when you launch up DBI, it's in Russian. But the big thing here, right here, you can click and look through your things. So under installs for me, you can see some of my things that I've gotten here. It's like Mario Party, Luigi's Brothership. Luigi's Brothership I actually had problems installing, but everything else that you see here installed without a hitch. I'm not exactly sure why, but I've only tried it once, trying to install it through here. But I think it's just a one-off issue. But I do have more issues on the Switch versus something else like the Vita, or especially like the Wii with Letter Bomb. The Switch is definitely a lot more hands-on, and it even has crashed a few times as well. But the best thing to do is either MTP or FTP. MTP just treats it as like a really good USB drive. The reason why you want to do it through DBI here is normally there's a 4 gig limit, so you can't upload a file more than 4 gigs. But with MTP, it bypasses that, and the same along with FTP as well. But we can get out of that as well. But yeah, I mean, just think about it, because on here you can do things like Homebrew with RetroArch and things like that, and it works great. It's just, it is lacking as well. One good Homebrew app that I do use all the time is SwitchFin. So let me see if I can, get into it. But no, so SwitchFin is super great because I can actually look at my archive with no issues, watch movies on the Switch, which I really did miss having something like that on the Switch in general, because SwitchFin just works so perfect to watch my library, and the fact that Nintendo didn't add it natively is super sad. But SwitchFin also will give us a kind of insight into some of the other problems that you have when homebrewing. So I was trying to close, and then it closed because of an error, and then it just went away. So that is like pretty common. Luckily with some of the other games, I don't have that issue. So if we go into like something like Balatro and just load up the account, it just works. I haven't had any of them fail unless it was a homebrew app, besides Brothership just not wanting to install. But the big thing that I've came across that just doesn't work is whenever your version's too high. So you actually have to downgrade to a older Nintendo Switch version. The other big thing is you can't play online with any of these games. So like Splatoon, like 2 or 3, it's completely out the window. The other problem with the whole Nintendo Switch homebrewing scene is the controllers and the price of everything. So I can actually show you now. Right here is my legit Nintendo controllers. So this is like a legit set. I got this one from GameStop. I sold my Switch a while back, so I actually had to get these again. And GameStop's charging $32 a controller. And because of the Switch 2, Nintendo actually raised their Switch 1 prices as well, which is super unfortunate because these controllers, they are known for stick drift, and a lot of the games use them as well. Like 1-2-Switch is super dependent. Another good comparison for that too would be ARMS. So ARMS requires a controller that has like really good motion and everything like that. And I actually show you another controller that fixes like the stick drift issue, but it plagues with other issues. So here is my Hori game controller. So it's actually what I got with the Switch originally, and it's actually why I wanted to make this rant. So these controllers work great in handheld mode because they only work in handheld mode. But the big problem is the sticks themselves feel great. Feels like an Xbox stick. The button feels okay. I don't really like the triggers. The triggers are just a little click. I think that's pretty awful. But the big problems with these, when they are on the Switch and the only mode that they work in, they're super flimsy. So let me see if I can actually pull out my Switch right now. These are my current controllers. These are the Amazon knockoffs. As you see, I've only owned it for a little bit, and the switches in them don't even stay in. But for $30, they do look good, and they don't have stick drift out the box, which is nice. But okay, so now we have the console out. I'll just zoom in for you guys as well. So I mean, it seems pretty good. I mean, it works great. But the problem is, and I don't know if you can see this, it's so flimsy and rattly. So when you're feeling the console in your hands, it just feels like it's gonna just like wobble apart. And it's not a very enjoyable experience, especially as you're even just moving your fingers to just get like a better hand position. It's quite annoying, and it makes it very agitating to even use. So the Hori gamepads I do not recommend. But on another note, especially if you want to play something like using Sunshine and some of the alternatives to game stream to your Switch, which is a fantastic use for the Switch. That way you have on-the-go game streaming from your PC is getting a controller like this. So this one actually got used from one of these bin places that they have near me for Amazon returns. So it's got paddles, turbos, different modes. But the cool thing about this is the Switch actually slides in. So when you slide the Switch in, you get a lot more rigid feel. And then on the back right here, you actually have these little locks. And once it's locked in, it feels super solid. So as a good comparison, I would actually compare this to the Steam Deck. I don't have one on me. I just sold my last Steam Deck, but it feels extremely similar to a Steam Deck. These are also wired. You don't have to just have your controller connected, which is super sweet. Because using the home button, it'll just turn it on, get all the lights going. I'll actually showcase it in a second, but yeah, so it'll have the lights. This one will need a blink blue, but then once it's blink blue, it'll connect. It's RGB, which is super nice, and it's a great way to play the Switch. This controller, for even being like $15 to $30 on Amazon, works fantastic. Because the sticks feel a lot better than the Hori ones, and they don't have the stick drift issues that plague. It's super responsive, but it still has the gyro support and everything, and it's so much more rigid. Like you can see, it just doesn't flex as much, and it feels like I'm holding like a PlayStation Portal or a Steam Deck or just something solid. And this is great, especially for game streaming. So I do recommend getting a very good grip, especially for that homebrew setup. And if you're not going to play on the TV as much, there's no big reason to get these controllers besides the fact that certain games require them. Like Mario Party is a pretty good example, in ARMS. But overall, would I recommend you modding your Switch? For a $15 chip that requires some soldering, it's not a bad idea, especially the price of the Switch is getting cheaper for just the console. But if you have to go out and on the used market buy a $200 set with the dock, Joy-Cons, and everything, it really gets closer to that point where you should just buy a used Steam Deck and you should just try the emulation route on PC. It's very finicky when it does work, and the fact that online doesn't even work is, I'm not going to say it's a deal breaker, but the fact that I can't play Splatoon without booting into a separate part of the modded Switch system is a huge con, because right now I have everything at my eMMUC on my SD card. Well, I'd have to switch it over to my regular NAND and then play all my online games there, like Fortnite. Which it's a lot more troublesome than it is when I could just use my computer, right? But the fact that I want to play my Nintendo collection and the Switch is one of the great options, that's kind of where we fall into, because I can play RetroArch and all my Switch 2 games. So, I don't know, it's a huge con, but once you do get it modded, it's actually a fantastic device to use. You just have to keep in mind that online is pretty much out of the picture. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.